Hello, I'm Liam Dan, New Zealand Herald Business Editor at Large, and welcome to a new season of Money Talks. This is a podcast about money, but we're not going to tell you how to get rich, and we're not going to try and pick the next interest rate move. In this series, I talk to interesting New Zealanders about how money has shaped their lives and what they've learned about it over the years. For the first episode of the season, I'm joined by clinical psychologist turned author and broadcaster and a good friend of mine, Nigel Latta.
Hey Liam, how's it going?
Good. Look, kia ora. Thanks for coming and being on Money Talks. Obviously, look, we'll start because you've been in the media a bit for reasons that you probably haven't
a little bit
really
of cancer.
wanted to be.
A little bit of that.
Look, we're recording late March. We've just really caught up on the news that your treatments are working. So you've had some pretty positive news.
Yeah, like it's all gone pretty well. The thing I've discovered is that oncology is there's lots of paths and options, and there's all these kind of new wonder drugs coming out. And so, apart from this cough, which still a little bit of lingering lung cancer, nothing to worry about there. The treatments are working very well. So it's kind of pushed the original tumour's kind of gone, and all of the original metastatic stuff is gone, and it jumped the fence a little bit, but that's now on the retreat. So things are looking pretty good. I've had some dire moments in the last 9 months.
Yeah, I know from knowing you and Natalie that there have been times when there was like a very sudden sort of, like they were talking about weeks at some point.
Yeah. Like I think I've had various times. I've had kind of 6 months. There was one particularly sobering day where I got like the 4-week deadline. It's like 4 weeks. Whoa. But I'm lucky, like the waves break our way. And so I kind of like the deadlines now. It's like, I remember that when he said I could have been dead at 6 months, I got to the 6 month mark and it was about midday and I was thinking, well, I've made it to lunchtime, but let's just track on and see if we can make it to midnight. Yeah. So I quite like the deadlines.
Yeah, just taking each, beating each one as it comes.
It's like, give me another deadline. Yeah. I'll beat that.
This is a podcast about money. We to what extent? I mean, you've talked about being a huge advocate for insurance now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, has it become stressful, just the whole process of the finances around managing this?
It does. So, like the day that I was given that 6 to 12 month thing, and your brain just comes unglued, the first person I called was my insurance advisor, that before anyone else in the world, because I thought, how the hell am I going to pay the mortgage, and how am I going to pay the bills, and I can't work anymore, and we've got all these medical costs coming up. Like, how is any of that going to work? So, I've become a huge advocate of insurance, and Natalie and I, just everyone that comes over, we just grill them about, have you got health policy insurance? Have you got income protection? Have you got health insurance and life insurance? And it's how you structure your life insurance. So often I think people think about life insurance as just what happens when you die, which is what I thought. I didn't even know what I had. Like when I called Andy, my guy, who's part of the family now, like we love Andy, he's such a brilliant dude. I thought, have I even paid it? Because my dad he was a great dad, he was a lovely man, but he was completely financially disorganised.
Right,
while he had bowel cancer, he let his life insurance policy lapse while he had it. Yeah. Wow. So I always kind of think, have I done that? Like, have I let the whole thing lapse? But luckily I hadn't, and I got some really good advice setting it up, and Andy kind of kept us on the road to make sure it was all paid up. So you could get, it's not just what happens when you die. You can get an early payout if you get a terrible diagnosis, which I had, so that was helpful. And you can also get, structure your insurance so that you can get kind of recovery insurance, so that you can get help with the day. It's another early payout on your life insurance policy, so that you can get money to pay bills and mortgages and medical costs. And you can also get kind of temporary and permanent disability payouts for that kind of stuff as well. And so when you think about, and people, we just don't think about this stuff. Like I didn't.
And you're on drugs that really the public system isn't funding.
No, it doesn't. And like we're lucky, we had good insurance and we had health insurance. And so I can get access to the non-pharmac approved drugs. And some of those are like $6,000 a fortnight. That's so literally insurance, health insurance. And if you get health insurance, everyone out there, tick the non-pharmac approved box. It makes your policy cost more, but when you consider that 1 in 3 people get cancer, when you do get it, the wonder drugs are the stuff that you want, and they're never funded because they're new, and not all of them will ever be funded because we're a small country with a small budget. And so having that non-Pharmac approved stuff makes a huge difference, because $6,000 like a month, like who the hell can pay that?
That's crazy. Hey, look, I'll come back to some of that and come back to what this whole journey's done for your attitude to money. But just to jump back a bit, we have a new question we're going to be asking people this season. So you're the first to get this. How would you explain what you do to a child?
Oh my God, I can't even explain it to myself. Well, it's become easier. I mean, how I'd explain it to a kid now. The main stuff that I do now is kind of speaking gigs. So I would say I go and stand in front of people and I make words come out of my face, and people give me money for that.
Yeah.
Like that's how I pretty much describe it.
And I guess you've carved a place as an expert in a certain sphere of psychology, would you say? Yeah,
so like those kind of themes of kind of resilience and which I've learned a lot about in the last 5 months. And I'm really interested in kind of resilience and the whole team culture thing, because most of my early career it's all been the same. Like I worked with kids and families for, 25 years, and work with guys that had committed crimes for a long time. And so you do a lot of work with families, and so you kind of, culture is quite important. The family culture is quite important. And that stuff translates over to the corporate world as well. Like I remember the first time getting into kind of corporate stuff and feeling somewhat intimidated by the whole thing.
Yeah.
But once you fight through the jargon, it's just people trying to do stuff with people. And there are some ways that make that easier, and there are some ways that make that stuff harder.
Going right back,
yeah.
What are your first memories of sort of the importance of money or money in your life? Do you remember it? Did it feature in the home growing up? You said your dad was not much of a financial expert.
Yeah, and he was also a builder during the worst time in New Zealand's history to be a builder. So it was kind of way back in the days, way back in Carless days and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so we lived in Oamaru, and the freezing works at the end of the kind of the highway there, that was kind of shutting down and cutting back. And so all of the guys that used to work at the freezing works flooded into town and would take a lot of building jobs. And so, being a builder now, you can do quite well. But Dad, he was unemployed. Like he gave up being a builder and went on the dole for the last year of my first year from university onwards. Because there was just no work. And so as a kid growing up, I remember like really thinking about money, because we didn't have much money at all. And so that kind of stuff, I was always worried about money, and I knew that they were kind of worried about money, and Mum was looking for jobs. Mum would sew curtains at night and do all that kind of stuff, and Dad tried to at one point get a job as a rural postman, and so it was pretty grim back in the day.
Did you have to get part-time work, or did you get pocket money?
No, so I worked at high school. I started working, and actually worked at a geriatric hospital, which was kind of fun. I spoke to this guy who was at Gallipoli. About what it was like there. They used to throw grenades. They used to play this game with the Turks where they would light a grenade, chuck it, and they'd just chuck it backwards and forwards, and you lost if it went off. And you were holding
my God.
So I had a job, and I was pretty much financially independent from the day I left for university. Like that's when I was kind of on my own then.
Yeah. And were your choices at say school and then at university, were they around like wanting to, did you want to do something that made some money? Was that part of the plan?
Yeah, like I kind of what I wanted. Well, I was sort of flighty, and it was back in the day when education was free, and so I sort of flitted between various different careers that I thought I was going to do, and some of them wouldn't have necessarily made me a lot of money. Like initially I thought I was going to be a philosopher.
Right, yeah.
Because that was the furthest thing away from the culture of Waitaki boys and Oamaru that I could think of.
Open up a little philosophy consultancy.
Yeah. I know, because people come with their philosophical concerns. But no, so in the end what I actually did is I made decisions more on the basis of interest than money. And so that's why I kind of did some marine science stuff, because that was kind of cool and I was interested in it. But then ultimately kind of settled on the psychology stuff, because I thought it seemed like a far more interesting road with more options and things.
Sure. And is it a financially lucrative thing in itself? You've kind of made it into something else though, haven't you?
Yeah, well, so I read this. I remember when I was still a student, I read the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd never come across this concept of passive income.
Yeah.
But I remember, I liked the idea of passive income. It seemed like my kind of income. It was passive and it was income.
Yeah.
And so from early on, I was kind of always thinking about how can you take some of those psychology things and scale them a bit. And so that's where the kind of books and various other things came along. Yeah.
So you came out of university and you effectively worked as a psychologist.
Yeah.
And how many years was that? Did it take,
20,
I guess I'm interested in
25 years.
25 years, yes. So you were at the coalface.
Yeah. And still do, so Natalie, my wife, she works a lot with kind of eating disorders and those sorts of things. And so if she has families, I kind of go in and make a cameo appearance.
Yeah.
Because we just like working together, and I love working with families. And so I'm still doing kind of clinical work now even, which is fun. Like I still enjoy that stuff.
So you're doing psychology. Mm-hmm. What's the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist?
So a psychiatrist is someone who's gone to medical school and then specialised in psychiatry, and they prescribe.
Yep.
And clinical psychologists, we can't prescribe, but we have a kind of a more evidence-based kind of background. So if you go and see like a therapist or a psychotherapist, it's a very big ocean of people with all kinds of backgrounds and all kinds of ideas and theories. Whereas a clin-psych is, should be working according to kind of the best evidence about how to treat this particular thing at this particular time. Yeah,
that makes sense. So when you were doing the psychology, was that like, are people coming to see you? Are you out in the community?
Yeah. So my early part of my career was working at places like family therapy places like the Leslie Centre, which no longer exists. And I did some work at what's now is Oranga Tamariki. Is it Oranga Tamariki? Is it the name of OT?
Unless they've dismantled it while I wasn't looking. But
yeah, I just had a moment of doubt there.
Yeah,
all right. Yeah. So I did some work for Oranga Tamariki, and then went into private practice pretty early because I decided that I could do exactly the same work, just not have to go to staff meetings.
Right. Yeah.
And so I worked for years and years and years, and didn't really see much in the way of just straight mums and dads coming in with their kid. It was mostly child, youth and family, or Oranga Tamariki, and youth justice stuff and prison stuff. And so that would be either them coming in to see me. I used to work a lot out of the office at Papakura OT because there was a really good youth justice team there, and they had a really good sort of relationships going with the local police and stuff. And some of the time you traipse around the country doing assessments in prisons and those sorts of things. Yeah,
it's interesting because it's quite. You really were at the coalface. I mean, people once you got well known, people think, oh, he's a TV psychologist. But how did you make that transition? What did you just see the possibility to reach more people? Or?
Well, interesting. I'd written this rather gruesome little novel when I was 32, 33, and I'd never done much media stuff. And then I read an article on a plane in the New Zealand magazine about how getting on a home show is really good for if you're selling books and those sorts of things. Yeah. And then literally the next week, one of the producers from the home show asked me to go on to talk about Mark Lundy. I hadn't followed the case at all.
Yeah.
So I remember going out and buying a Tally shirt at St. Luke's that day. And then I sat outside TVNZ and read the Herald stuff.
Yeah.
Mark
So
Lundy,
you knew the background of the story.
And went in and kind of did my thing. And he kind of liked me because I've never really been too concerned about what people think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just say what I believe. And so Paul kind of liked the fact that I did that. And so I just got a few more gigs on the home show doing things. And then that you become talent on docos. And then Screen Time were the first people to talk to me about Beyond the Dark Lanes. And that's kind of really where the Tally stuff started. And I never thought it would be a thing. I thought it was just, this is just kind of fun. I'll do one of these and that'll be the end of it. But it became a bit of a thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, you became a household name. I mean, it was a real. There was some, big hit shows there. How did you adjust to that? And did it sort of change your attitude to money? Do people suddenly think you're a lot richer when you're on
everyone
telly?
thinks you're rich.
Yeah.
Like I remember people going, boy, bloody Nigel Latta got $6 million from New Zealand on here last year. It's like, no, I really didn't.
Yeah.
It's like in New Zealand what happens is telly budgets are, like everywhere else in the media, have the money hasn't increased and the costs have. And so really you don't make money. If I was in America, maybe you make money out of it. But you don't really, because if you calculate your hourly rate for telly, it would be pretty low because it's a huge amount of time to produce those shows. But I did it because I enjoyed it, and also it kind of it grew the audience for other things, and so other opportunities kind of come out of that stuff. I mean, it was just fun to make, and I really liked the people.
Were you comfortable being recognised in the dairy or the supermarket?
No.
yeah.
Like, see, the irony is I'm not really an extrovert. I'm quite an introvert, and so I love making tally, but I didn't like the kind of profile stuff that came along with it because it's kind of weird. I mean, the good thing is in New Zealand, it's pretty low key.
Yeah.
If you're a household name in New Zealand, that means you're a columnist in a weekly newspaper in a Sydney suburban newspaper.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was that. What did help is it did help with the clinical work because when I was still kind of doing tally and clinical stuff, people would see you because you're the tally guy. And then you would say exactly the same things the social worker had been saying for the last 2 years, and the family would go, because you're the tally guy.
Kind of listen to it, yeah.
It's useful. It was useful from that point of view.
You did a show, Mind Over Money, in 2018, I think. Was that, that was about exploring the psychology behind our attitudes to money? I mean, what did you learn from that? And did anything surprise you? Yeah, a lot. It's like what you're always trying to do with those shows is, well, we kind of have this secret engine, this sort of some academic stuff and some kind of evidence underneath it, and then turn that into interesting tally. And so it was interesting in terms of just people's kind of money personalities and how some people value security and some people it's more about kind of connections and other people it's about stuff. But just conversations with people about their money habits, like a couple who had been together for like 4 years but were still labelling the stuff in the fridge and paying for that stuff separately. And the fact that, there was a couple that had talked about everything apart from money. So it was a really interesting show to make. Do any sort of financial tips or advice you picked up?
I mean, it's the same stuff that I mean, ultimately, I think the big thing is it's like you just have to be consistent and kind of stable and think about stuff. Like you have to have conversations with it. You have to have a financial kind of plan as a couple and talk about the money stuff rather than just roll along and let things happen. And so it really kind of brought to the front the kind of the value of just having conversations with the people who are, part of your family, a part of your sort of intimate life about where you are financially and what your goals are and where you want to be and how the best ways to get there. And it kind of unearths some things about how, you look at KiwiSaver, there are growth, there's the low risk and then there's the growth. And with the growth one, people get all hung up on the ups and the downs.
Going backwards,
and they don't think about like the big picture.
Yeah.
I remember with one of my kids having this conversation, like, dude, you should be on the growth fund. Like you're 20-something years old. This is a time later on. Go to the conservative one, but look at these two lines. And I remember she just kind of said to me that the ups and downs were too much. Didn't like all the little spiky ups and downs.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, New Zealanders. That's one of the themes of the show. Really, New Zealanders have not been great about talking about money in a sort of. I guess probably you've found the similar things with health, but yeah. Okay, I'm just going to do some quick fire questions.
Yeah.
What's the poorest you've ever been?
Oh, the poorest I've ever been is like super poor. Like when, at one point I had a massive mortgage. We had kids who were just about to go off to university, all the kind of normal bills of life. And that was a really stressful, terrible time. I've been pretty poor.
Yeah. Well, let me flip it around. When things have been going well, what's the most indulgent purchase you ever made?
I think probably for me it was I bought, because I quite like flight simulators.
Oh yeah.
So I bought like a flash gaming computer and a big widescreen monitor and all of the little yokes and things so that I could.
So it's more realistic.
Fly planes, yeah. So it wasn't like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, but it was quite a lot just to fly planes around. It's pretty cool though. I still use it. It's fun. Cool.
We always ask people if they still buy lotto tickets, and if you do, how much do you imagine winning?
I think I bought them about once or twice. To me, it just feels like lotto feels like you're giving up. It's like if your financial plan is lotto, you've given up, and so you need to kind of get a better financial plan. Because I'm a data guy, and it's like I'm going to dip my hand in a swim, 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools and pull out my little magic number. Like, that's not going to happen. I'm just going to end up giving money to Lotto. That's what's going to happen.
Do you have, as a psychologist, do you have any thoughts on the psychology behind, Lotto? Why it's just such a cultural part of New Zealand or many countries, right?
Yeah, I mean, some people call it tax on the less well off, right? Because what it does is Lotto gets all its money and then passes it onto other things. I think it's just that immediate thing. If we just see that, we're really good at imagining spending the money and what it would be like and all the rest of it, and we don't imagine the vast swimming pool full of ping pong balls and pulling your thing out, and actually you're better off putting that $5 towards paying down some expenses or buying a coffee or anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a lot less fun, I guess, to imagine a slow growing fund. But if you put it's $20 in now for
and that's the problem with the financial stuff. Like, a lot of it actually is. It's kind of boring and a little bit of a party pooper. It's like, I want to go to Italy. Well, you can't go to Italy, because if you borrow the money, but our house has just been revalued and the mortgage has gone up, so we're just going to borrow on that. No, that's not how that works. It's like the financial stuff is kind of boring and a party pooper in the short term, but in the long term, that's the useful stuff. And it's like, how do you get people to do that? How do you get people to think about and or buy insurance? How do you get people to start putting money away and saving money? Like, it's hard to do, because we want cool stuff now.
Yeah. Can you think of a best piece of financial advice you've been given by someone?
Yeah, I think the best kind of financial advice literally was at the very beginning, for me anyway. That Kiyosaki book, like, not all of it, but just that idea of passive income, that idea that there are ways that you can generate some income where you don't have to kind of do anything, and you can scale it. And so I've always kind of thought about income in terms of how can you take this thing and scale it and make it bigger. So rather than sitting in a room with one person, how can you turn that into like 20 people or 100 people or like 1,000 people or whatever. So weirdly, that passive income has been this thing that's kind of always stuck with me.
Yeah, the idea of exponential growth, like you said.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time, what's one thing you'd change about your career or your money habits?
I would put money aside, and I would do the that experiment between Warren Buffett and the share brokers, and they were buying and selling. He just invested in basically the average of the market.
He follows the market.
I would put money into that, starting from my early 20s, and just keep having done that.
It's another interesting psychological one, isn't it? Because people always think about the big crashes. The crashes get all our attention, so they're nervous about the share market because it crashes. But you look back to the last 100 years, it goes like that.
I remember on the show, on the Mind Over Money show, we showed people 4 graphs of the share market over the last, I think, 100 years or something, and 3 of them were wrong, one of them was right. And most people thought it was the flat one of ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs, when actually it wasn't. It was the one that was the mountain climbing up.
Do you set goals? Are you a goal setter?
Yeah, I do. But so for me, it's more about the goals are more about developing kind of. So we've got like a little app that we're going to release in the next 2 weeks, really, that I've been working on for probably 20 years.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's a pretty big date coming up.
Long before the apps. It was kind of the idea has been around for 20 years, and then first it was websites, then it became apps, and so I spent a lot of time and quite a bit of money on this thing.
Do you want to give us your elevator pitch on the app?
Well, basically what it does, it's the only app that can give you advice that's personalised to your kid's developmental stage and their temperament. And so if you've got a stubborn 9-year-old, that's different to like an easygoing 5-year-old. And so the way that you get those 2 kids to go to bed at a time that works for everyone is going to be different. And so we've kind of been able to take that kind of secret sauce of how to do that and put that into an app. And also, there's a lot of evidence-based stuff in there. So eating is a huge problem for lots of people, and we've got some really solid evidence-based stuff. Because the problem at the moment is there's a lot of AI-based, like ask AI for parenting advice, ask it for advice about that. And some of the advice it gives is just really, frankly, kind of dangerous. So it's that. So this is sort of a thing I've been working on for, I don't know, it really has been kind of 20 years, a lot in the last 10 years and intensively over the last 6. And put like thousands of hours into this thing. But I think it's really good, and I think it can be helpful for people. And we're deliberately pricing it low so that as many people as possible can get access to it, because that's kind of important to us as well. Like, we don't want it to be something that only people with tons of money can afford. We want it to be stuff that, it's like less than a coffee a week.
Accessible. Yeah. Well, that sounds great. We will make sure we put a link to that app, which is coming out in the story. Yeah. And this is a leading question, because I sort of know the answer, but since you had your diagnosis, you've also been pretty focused on writing.
Yeah, I have. Because I got to about 4 months in of watching telly, and I thought, I'm literally, if the cancer won't kill me, boredom will kill me.
Yeah.
And so I started writing a book, which is about kind of resilience, and it's about these kind of 3 simple principles that I've used pretty much my entire life, that I think are just useful with the sort of the background story arc is kind of the stuff that I've been going through. And it's probably the most personal book I've ever written, because I don't generally, I've talked about examples of doing interviews and stuff in books, but this is much more kind of personal, and it's also kind of packed with skills and things that are useful and can be helpful for people.
Yeah, it sounds good. Look, one regular Money Talks question is making money important to you, or is it more of a byproduct of success?
No, it's not important to me. It's like the thing I've discovered in the last 9 months is that almost everything that I ever worried about doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it just doesn't. The only thing that matters is love. It's like time with the people that you love, and so getting to hold Natalie's hand every day, that's a miracle to me. Money helps in that, because we had put because basically Peter and Andy had given us me good advice about how to put this. It's made a huge difference to us, because otherwise it would have been, the stress of cancer would have been compounded with the stress of kind of mortgage and medical payments and everything else. So money is important, and you have to have a certain amount so that you don't have those worries. I'm not saying that doesn't matter, but after that, after you take care of the basics and you can pay the bills and feed the kids and do all that kind of stuff, it doesn't matter. Like, I'd trade anything to be free of the whole cancer cloak. Like, the money stuff literally doesn't matter to me, and so what matters is time. Like, and money buys me time, because insurance has meant that I've been able to get access to some of those drugs, and literally I think I'd be dead now if I hadn't been able to do that. And so what really matters is just time, and time with the people that you love. That's the most important thing.
Do you think that's like, is it sort of like, is that a revelation, or is it just that the diagnosis highlights to you, because how much of it was there, what you sort of believed, but until you actually get given this like timeline.
I think it's the difference between going, I know that, because we all know that. Like, time with people, I know that. Shut up. Give us a minute.
It's all about love. But we get that.
Yeah, but it's like, so how do you change your behaviour? Like, how do you change what you do as a result of that? And so now, if I've got a talk somewhere, it's an overnight thing, I'm not going to go unless Natalie can go, because I've spent too many nights in motels in Palmerston North and Dunedin and Wellington and stuff. I just don't want to go and do that stuff now. So I love doing the talks themselves. Like, I love that. But also, I'm not going to waste a night that I have, like a night on this earth, being alive, being alone in some motel in Palmerston North. I'm just going to go if we can go. And so, I used to work a lot. We've got a little sort of outdoor office thing, and I used to work a lot in the outdoor office, and I haven't been there for months. Like, I want to work inside where people are around and I can see people. So it's about, the difference is that we all think we've got forever, and so that we can do these things later. I can spend time, I've got to work now, and you never know. Like, I thought that, and then a Monday afternoon comes along and everything changes, and suddenly people are throwing deadlines at you, like 4 weeks, 6 months, 2 years, blah 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 blah, and time becomes the most precious resource that there is. Like, that, all that I care about now is kind of beating this thing so that I can have more time with her. Like, that's literally, that's it. If even the app, like, it's changed how I think about lots of things. Like, in the beginning, kind of the app for me was a way to kind of make some income stuff. Now I just really want it to help people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, when you start thinking about, actually, the purpose of life and being alive is to love and be loved, you find that stuff everywhere. Once you start looking for it. We were in Melbourne we're in one of those sort of outdoor places where there's lots of people having dinner, and there were these two guys singing. One was playing guitar, the other was singing, and he wasn't the best singer in the world, but the man was so full of joy, it was infectious. Like, I just couldn't help but watch him, and he was just lovely, like the way he interacted with people. Most people were ignoring him, but the way he kind of interacted with people going past. And so afterwards, I just kind of went up to him, and I said, dude, that's like, of all of the live performances I've ever seen, that's one of the most joyful, and you just seem so full of love for people. If we could bottle you and sprinkle you over the world, that'd be a lovely thing. And so I think it's about noticing that stuff and kind of seeing it. You know, like if you've got a business and you want your business to succeed, you have to love your people. You just do. I remember once having a coffee with Graham Lowe, the rugby guy, and I'm not sporty at all. And my publisher said you should have coffee with Graham because you guys have got a lot in common. I thought, I can't see how we have anything in common. I didn't know about all of his work in prisons. He's the loveliest, sweetest man I've ever met. And he just said, like, you've got to love your boys. That's just what you have to do. And it's true of everything. If you're running a business and you love your people, when you look after your people, your business is going to flourish. And you need a bunch of other things too, but fundamentally, the culture of the place needs to kind of reflect that. And so for me, the difference has been that whilst I always knew that, now my behaviour reflects that knowledge, and I've changed the way that I do things. And so whilst I might have noticed that guy before singing, thought, oh, that's kind of cool, now I make a point of going up to him and saying this stuff, and we had a hug, and it was just this lovely, kind of nice moment, and thinking more about how I spend my time, and the fact that I don't want to become a gazillionaire off this app. What I want it to do is help a bunch of people, and that'd be like that would be the best thing. Like that would be kind of cool. So it's changed my perspective from you know, when you're younger, you think you want to build empires and be rich and all this. I don't. Like, I've got all I need in life, which is Natalie and some things to do. And so what's more important to me now is that it be helpful to people. Like, that would be the loveliest thing. That'd be really cool. That'd make 20 years of pondering and thousands of hours of work. That would make it all worthwhile. It's like, cool. Like, it makes a difference for people.
It kind of flows to the next question, really. But the last question that we ask everyone is, if we could make you Prime Minister for the day, or an all-powerful dictator, if you like, what's the thing you'd most want to do to try and, I guess, we say solve inequality, address economic hardship, but I guess also make people happier?
Yeah, I'd raise taxes. I'd be that guy. I'd raise taxes and I'd pay for more stuff. Like, I'd improve our health system. I'd improve our education system. You will be able to do more stuff. And I think the biggest thing would be changing the culture of the public service, because I think it's a risk-averse, kind of bureaucratic place. And I think no one goes into the public service to be unhelpful, but the public service is a big sort of gluey blob of concrete that everything gets stuck in. And so I would want to change that so that we could, like, the thing that amazes me is I've spent the last, 15 years making telly, and you go around the country interviewing people who have solutions to all these problems. Like, there are smart people all around the country that have solutions, but no one kind of asks them. And so I would do more of that kind of stuff. I would be encouraging the public service to go out and find these people and talk to them and take more risks. I'd just raise taxes and I would pay for things, an odd idea. Like, I was in ED the other night because I had a fever, which when you're on chemo is bad because you don't have white blood cells. There were 40 people in there. It got up to about 80 by the end of the night. We only have one X-ray in Auckland Hospital overnight, like one X-ray. That's messed up. The fact that there are people who can't get access to some treatments and some of the oncology drugs, that stuff is just wrong. There's nowhere that you see the inequity of the health system more, I think, than in something like oncology, where there are people dying who don't need to die, but they're dying because they can't afford these drugs. And so I think there's more that we could do about that. So I'd be the opposite of the current lot. I'd be saying, okay, we're just going to raise taxes, shut up. And Facebook, you're going to pay. Once I paid more tax than Facebook. And I would ask politicians why can't we tax these people more? And they said, it's very complicated. And I remember thinking, shut up! Like, I can look at pictures of Mars on my phone that we took with a robot that we sent to Mars, that's complicated.
Yeah.
Getting Facebook to pay their taxes, it shouldn't be complicated. So yeah, I would do all that kind of stuff. I would be kind of focused on, let's all give. I have and do vote for people that want me to pay more tax, because it's not. It's like that's how we pay for stuff like nurses and a mental health system. At the moment, there's that conflict around the little 11-year-old who got and it's like, what sucks is the guy in charge, the mental health minister, chucks the entire system under the bus, rather than saying, yeah, actually the problem is that decision was made in a context of understaffing, under-resourcing, buried in really, really complicated cases, and that's our fault because we're the government. Like, if you're in the big seat and bad stuff happens, you take responsibility for that. You don't blame your staff for it. You go, we have to fix this problem. And so I would be more focused on that kind of stuff. It's like, let's own up to, if I was in the big seat, it's my fault if that happens.
Yeah.
And I would say that. It's my fault because they didn't have enough funding and resources. And so the only way you get more funding and resources is through little things like paying more tax.
Yeah.
It's like, shut up, pay more tax, have a nice country where people are looked after.
That's great, Nigel. Look, thanks for coming in. I appreciate that. Thank you for listening to this episode of Money Talks. If you want to get in touch, drop me a line at liam.dan@nzherald.co.nz, and you can read more from me at nzherald.co.nz. Thanks to my producer, Ethan Sills, and sound engineer, Adam Pamana. Follow Money Talks on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts, with new episodes available every Thursday. And if you are new to the podcast, you can check out our back catalogue with over 60 guests from across our seasons.